Welcome back, everyone. I'm here to help you make your home tidier and bring more joy into your life. I once heard someone say, a wealthy home isn't about being big or fancy, it's about being neat and clean. No matter how big or small your place is, if it's organized, you're already rich. Sounds strange, right? But rich here isn't about money, it's about mental wealth. You'll feel lighter and more at ease. In this video, I'll help you get rich in that way. Cool, right? When you hold on to too many random, rarely used items, they just pile up, frustrate you, and waste your money. So let's dive into a few rules to help you let go of what you don't need. You'll feel more comfortable and save money too. Every item in your home should have a clear purpose. If it no longer serves any purpose or provides any value, that's a sign to consider letting it go. The best way to recognize which items are useless is to ask yourself, is this item really necessary? For example, I once had a juicer that I hadn't used for an entire year. Every time I saw it, I thought I would use it someday, but in reality, it just took up kitchen space and gathered dust. Eventually, I decided to give it away, and surprisingly, I felt so much more comfortable and lighter afterward. Getting rid of items that no longer serve a purpose not only makes your living space tidier, but also allows you to reclaim the freedom of utilizing your space effectively. Next, you can apply a very simple, yet incredibly effective rule, the 6-month rule. This rule is simple, but very effective. If you haven't used an item in the last 6 months, chances are you won't need it in the future. This applies to almost everything in your home, from clothes, kitchenware, to electronics. I remember admitting that the winter coat I kept from last year was never used. Even when winter arrived, I chose other items instead of that coat. After applying the 6-month rule, I realized that many things I kept were just out of habit, not necessity. By letting go of these items, my space became more spacious, and I no longer had to worry about finding a place to store them. However, one important factor to consider when decluttering is the emotional value these items hold. Therefore, let's look at another rule that helps identify items with long-term value in your mind. Every item carries a story, especially those tied to memories. However, if an item only brings up memories but serves no real value, you need to learn how to let it go. I had an old bracelet my mother gave me, a gift I cherished, because it was tied to a beautiful memory. But after reflecting on it, I realized the bracelet was damaged and could no longer be fixed. It no longer served a purpose and just took up space in my drawer. Even though I still cherished the memory, I decided to throw it away, and I felt so much lighter. When you let go of items that no longer serve a functional purpose, but are emotionally attached, you'll discover that truly valuable memories don't need to be materialized. Therefore, after understanding the true value of each item, you can apply a simple but effective method to keep your living space tidy. This is the 1 in 1 out rule. One of the simplest but most effective rules for managing your belongings is the 1 in 1 out rule. Whenever you bring a new item into your home, make sure to get rid of at least one old item. This helps you maintain balance between bringing in new things and eliminating excess. I remember when I bought a new bag, I set the rule for myself, new bag in, old bag out. Not only did this prevent me from accumulating too many things, but it also kept my space tidy. This rule will make you realize that getting rid of an old item is not a loss, but an opportunity to make your living space more comfortable and spacious. Furthermore, once you apply this rule, you'll also begin to recognize the importance of focusing on quality rather than quantity when keeping things. We often tend to hold on to unnecessary items because we think, it still has use, or I'll regret it if I need it someday. However, it's important to focus on quality instead of quantity. Instead of keeping everything, keep only those items that are truly of quality and useful. I once kept an old swimsuit thinking I might need it someday, but then I realized it was worn out and no longer fit. After letting it go, I felt so much lighter and no longer had to worry about storing that unnecessary item. Sometimes decluttering doesn't mean you're lacking something. It means you're simplifying life and making it easier. So another simple yet effective method is to categorize your belongings into groups for easier removal. To make decluttering less overwhelming, you should divide items into smaller groups like clothes, books, kitchenware, etc. Then carefully go through each group. You'll quickly recognize which items you don't need and can get rid of. In the past, I would clean everything at once, and it was very overwhelming. But once I started categorizing items into groups, the task became much easier. This helped me avoid feeling overwhelmed and allowed me to track my progress step by step. Next, after sorting your items, you can start removing those that are no longer usable. Broken items, expired items, or those that can't be repaired should be the first ones to go. These items not only take up space, but also make your environment cluttered and unhygienic. I once kept an old hairdryer that didn't work thinking, I'll fix it someday. But when I realized it just caused more clutter in my drawer, I decided to get rid of it. Once you remove non-functional items, you'll feel freer and no longer have to worry about them taking up space for no reason. However, if you find it hard to start, try taking immediate action and don't procrastinate. Once I have time, I'll declutter. That's a common thought. People often think that when they've thought it through and have enough time, they'll get rid of unnecessary things. However, the truth is that when you're buried under piles of stuff that someday will turn into forever. Decluttering isn't something you do once you've calmed down and thought it through. On the contrary, the act of decluttering will help you clear your mind. You don't need to wait until you have time to start. Decluttering itself will give you the time and space to focus on what matters most. Decluttering should be a top priority. It's a skill, but don't wait until you've mastered it before you begin. Don't think you need to finish reading this book before starting. The best way to learn is to start practicing right now as soon as you finish reading. If you don't start decluttering now, you'll never know what you can get rid of. Waiting for the right time will keep you stuck in clutter forever. Decluttering is the first step toward a lighter, more organized life. No one is born with the inability to throw things away. It's just a habit that forms in our minds. In psychology, there's a concept called learned helplessness, which means that although you have the ability to change after many failed attempts at decluttering, you feel like you just can't do it anymore. The truth is, holding on to things isn't about your personality. It's a habit you've developed. Once you understand why you can't let go of things, you'll gradually be able to change that habit. Not being able to let go of things doesn't make you a bad person. It simply means you haven't developed this skill yet. I used to live in a room full of clutter, but now I've embraced a minimalist lifestyle. This change wasn't because my personality suddenly shifted, but because I trained myself to let go of unnecessary items. Once you start letting go of things, you'll find that life becomes much lighter and easier. And furthermore, applying the focus on the benefits, not the losses rule, will help you overcome hesitation and see the positive side of decluttering. When you start decluttering, you might feel a little regret when parting with familiar items. However, it's time to change that mindset because what you gain is far more valuable. You'll not only gain more space, but also time for yourself, a sense of lightness, freedom, and renewed energy. I'll go into more detail about these benefits in Chapter 4, but the truth is what you gain from decluttering is priceless. So when you let go of something, don't focus on what you're losing. Instead, think about the positive changes it will bring to your life. It's because I recognize these benefits that I was able to commit to decluttering. On the other hand, if you don't see the positive side of this process, it'll be much harder to make it a lasting habit. In fact, the benefits you haven't noticed yet may be far greater than the things you're letting go of. Remember, letting go of things not only clears up space, but also brings a more organized, comfortable, and fulfilling life. Next, live with only what you truly need. Keep only the items that you genuinely love and use regularly. Don't let items take up space just because of emotions or the thought that one day I might need them. Reducing your belongings not only saves space, but helps you focus on the more important things in life. When I began living with only what I truly needed, I realized that I not only saved space, but also gained more time and energy for what really matters, and finally recognized the reasons behind your hesitation to declutter and overcome them. The philosopher Spinoza once said, "When people say they can't do something, it means they don't want to." When you think about reducing clutter in your home, your mind immediately comes up with reasons to stop. That's why it's important to understand the true reasons behind your reluctance to declutter. Perhaps you'll say it's just your feelings, but it's hard to believe that. Or maybe you'll come up with valid reasons like, "This item holds many memories," or "This is a gift from someone important." But in reality, after these beautiful reasons, you're simply avoiding the effort and inconvenience of decluttering. People naturally prefer to maintain the status quo and seek comfort. If given the choice between decluttering and leaving things where they are, most people will choose the latter. However, if you always choose comfort by leaving things as they are, you'll soon find yourself buried in clutter. So the next time you hesitate to throw something away, think about that feeling and recognize the importance of change. Not all clutter is intentional. Sometimes it's just the result of life happening fast. I used to spend so much time walking back and forth across the house, returning toys to kids' rooms, carrying cups back to the kitchen, gathering socks off the stairs. It felt endless, like I was the cleanup crew for a parade I didn't sign up for. Then I added one small thing near our staircase, a soft basket. That was it. I started calling it the clutter catch zone. Anytime I found something that didn't belong in that room but didn't have time to return it, it went in the basket. At the end of the day, I'd take 5 minutes, carry the basket with me around the house, and return everything. No more constant back and forth. No more mental interruptions every time I spotted a misplaced shoe or charger. Some days that basket held hair ties, books, puzzle pieces, and a lone spoon. Other days it was almost empty, but the habit stayed, and that habit gave me peace. The benefit, instead of chasing clutter all day, you contain it and control when you deal with it. It's a boundary between not now and never. When a room feels messy, it's tempting to try cleaning everything. But that's usually what makes you give up before you even begin. So instead of trying to fix the whole space, I started doing something simple, resetting just one surface. Sometimes it's the kitchen counter, other days it's the coffee table or the bathroom sink. I don't think about the whole room, I just return that one surface to its clean, original state. The power of this trick, once one surface is clear, the rest of the room feels possible. And sometimes you actually want to keep going, not because you have to, but because the energy shifted. I once did this in my bedroom by clearing just the top of my dresser, removing receipts, random hair ties, folded laundry that never made it to the drawer. It took 7 minutes. And yet when I walked back in later that night, the whole room felt more peaceful because my eyes had somewhere to land that wasn't cluttered. The benefit, it gives you quick wins without pressure. Even if the rest of the room is messy, one calm surface is enough to change how you feel. Clutter doesn't always sit on shelves. Sometimes it lives in your pocket. One afternoon, I opened my phone's photo app and scrolled, thousands of images, most of them blurry accidental screenshots or duplicates, just sitting there, not causing visible mess, but making everything feel heavy. So I tried a digital declutter, just 10 minutes. I deleted random screenshots of recipes I never made, duplicate photos of the same birthday cake, old documents I'd already filed, apps I hadn't opened in over a year. And something shifted. My phone loaded faster, my gallery felt calmer. I no longer had to scroll through 50 versions of the same moment just to find the one photo I loved. It reminded me mental clutter hides in invisible places, and even digital cleanup can create real emotional relief. The benefit, you feel less overwhelmed by notifications, decisions, and digital distractions without even touching your physical space. We're often told to let go of things, but sometimes we're not even sure what needs letting go. That's why I started doing something I call the permission pass walkthrough. It's simple, pick one room, and instead of cleaning or organizing it, just walk through and ask yourself a quiet question about each item. If I didn't already own this, would I choose it again today? Did I this with our guest room, a space that looked fine on the surface? But once I looked closer, I noticed things that didn't match the life I was living anymore. A pile of throw pillows that were nice, but no one ever used. A broken lamp I kept meaning to fix. A framed quote that used to inspire me, but now just blended into the background. I didn't get rid of everything at once, but giving myself permission to question them was the first step. It helped me break the trance of default ownership, keeping things just because they've always been there. The benefit, you loosen emotional attachments and make space for your current life, not just your past choices. Decluttering is not just a physical act, but an important mental process as well. Remember, letting go of things is not a loss, but an opportunity to create space, time, and energy for the things that truly matter in life. Let each item you let go of be a step forward in your journey toward a more organized, comfortable, and fulfilling life. So don't wait for tomorrow or when you have time. Start today, because you deserve a living space that's not only clean, but also filled with new energy. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to leave a comment below and hit the subscribe button to get more useful tips on how to live a tidier and lighter life. Thank you for watching, and I wish you success on your journey to decluttering and creating a wonderful living space for yourself.